Morning all. Maths question today. So question 3 and then let's go. So exam technique. So I had a look at the last 2 years of these that they've put into this exam in paper 2. And it's worth 9% of the mark of the entire paper. Now, I did this one because I made a mistake on paper 1 because I tried to do everything on the computer. And as a student pointed out, I put the angle in the wrong place and I was working it out or talking. I've done it all out on paper first. Now, on a good day, I reckon this maths question, is going to take you 20 minutes. Okay? You might be a super fast whiz because it's not necessarily the maths, it's finding the information on the page, checking it and putting it down. So with last year's year 13s, we all decided that basically the best exam practice was to leave this maths question to the last because it's only worth 9%. Okay, and then if you're running out of time, even if you got the first bit, the way the mark scheme, you look at the mark scheme at the end, is done, you get, I think it's 6 marks for this entire question. So you basically, brilliant, 6 marks, but you get marks for doing each step. So even if at the end and you're running out of time and you only got half of it done, you're probably going to get 3 or 4 of the marks done anyway. So you're still going to get 4 or 5% of it. So yeah, first exam technique is to leave it in place. All right. I'm going to be doing this on the screen. I'm going to be copying from my blank paper and I'm going to show you some of the mistakes I went through and I went, oh no, I've made this mistake. And I'll explain why I made mistakes. And it was simple exam technique things that I made the mistake, not necessarily the maths. The maths is very easy for this bit on this question anyway. Okay. So what's this question asking you for? It's asking you for, let's have a look. For the development of the design solution, Festival operators teamed up with a charity to manage the stuff sack process part of the cleanup operation. Refer to the information on page 5 of the resource booklet, which looks like this. So this is the page. So unlike maths paper, all the maths is hidden in here somewhere. Okay, and luckily it's all just on page 5 for this one. Okay, and also I notice there's some numbers here that you'll need. Okay, what you have to do is calculate the predicted total funds, looking for the total amount of monies raised by the charity for their planned stuff sack recycling scheme. So it's looking for the total funds. It's basically a positive and negative. It's taking away what you're spending from what you've made, and then you'll have the outcome of what you've made totally. Okay, so you've got to use the data provided, obviously, because that's the number. Assume that workers are paid for a full day's work, and use the estimate number of 2016, which is 155,000. Now, if you hadn't read the question, you'd have been wasting time looking through the resource booklet. It's only on page 1, I think that number is. Okay, so I'm going to do this in Active Inspire, guys, the questions, and I'm going to be whizzing between this page, I'm going to clear those, and the Active Inspire, and I'm going to write out what you've got to do. Okay, so this page and this one. Right, so the first thing is to find out how many people come in. So it says on here, 2017 had a 5% increase. All right. So on the first one, it said 155,000 people came to 2016. So you need to know how many people came this year. All right. So you need to know the total amount of people. So let's just put here. People would be 5% increase. No, that didn't come out, did it? So increase of 155,000, which equals, so 0.05 times 155,000, which equals 7,750 people extra. If you add those two together, you would end up with 162,750. There's your total number. Okay. Next thing, let's look at resource booklet. So I'm just working my way down here. Okay, if you look at the mark scheme, they've done it in a really weird way where they don't work down the page. Okay. So 10% of festival goers take stuff sacks at the entrances. The true cost of stuff sack, including labour to distribute entrances, is £2 each. All right. So, number of stuff sacks taken should be. Where's my T? 10% of 162,750, because 10% of them take the stuff sacks, and that's times 2, because that's the cost of them, which would give you 32,550. Now that's a minus. Okay, and the reason that's a minus is that's what you're going to have to take off. So I put, to make it clear for me, I put minus 2050, because I know I'm going to have to come back and refer to that later. Okay, next one. 40% of the stuff sacks distributed will be filled. Okay, so we know that this is how many are given out. 16,275. Because 10%, sorry, 10% 16,275. I just didn't put that number in. Is 6,510 will be filled. Then that times 2 for the custom gives you 32,550. Okay. Once you got that, next job is 40% of 16,275 would mean that only 6,510 will be filled. Okay. Now, the reason I made a couple of mistakes when I whizzed through mine, I did double check quickly, and I went, oh no, hang on, I'm adding one number with the other. And the exam technique is I didn't label clearly as I was running around. Okay, so basically when I came back later on, I went, oh, it's this much, I'll take this from this. Okay, if I put something like that, stuff sacks filled, if you are clear, if it's the estimation you're working out as a pound negative, if you're going to be taking it off, or if it's stuff sacks filled, or it's hours worked, or whatever, just make sure you're labeling it and putting it nice and clear. So, you know, personally, when I was doing this, I was kind of like, oh, I just don't see is this a point? Because in real life, you would do this all with an Excel spreadsheet. Because personally, I'd put everything in a nice big grid, positive coming in, negative coming out, working it all out for me. I just think this is a bit of a naff question. It teaches the kind of way to do it, but it doesn't resemble real life. Because in real life, nowadays you would just use Excel spreadsheet, put everything in, and work it out with that. But obviously, they can't give you the Excel spreadsheet, so they're trying to make you work it out in your head, not in your head, on a piece of paper. So next job. So that's how many you filled. This is how much it's cost. If you want to put, yeah, go away. Why aren't you escaping? You can just go away. If I click on that, will you let me click back on there? No, you won't. That's fine. 32,000. Cost to make sacks. Okay. Now, I'm just thinking the way to lay this out, it's up to you. Try and keep it as neat as possible. I'm struggling to keep it neat on this page. I'm just wondering if you put cost to make sacks and then put the equation next to it. Stuff sacks filled, calculation to work out how that was. So you can clearly see it. I'm just changing my mind as I do it. So I'm thinking Control X, Control V. Yeah, that's better. Control X, Control V. Okay, so this is now nice and clear. Now, on your page, I'll try and write it all out so it's nice and neat. Stuff sacks filled. God, I miss having a board and people in the classroom. Right, so next one. We've worked this one out. Distribution. Done all those. Stuff sack collection. So, truck hire, not including fuel with workers, will be £380 per day. So it's going to cost £380 per day to run trucks. Workers can work a minimum of 8 hours a day, remembering that they can only work a full day. So even if it takes half a day, they have to get paid for a full day. Trucking workers may be hired full days, even if it's required part day. There we go. The capacity of each truck is an average of 255 stuff sacks. On average, loading the truck, driving to the charity's collection centre, unloading and returning takes 2 hours. Fuel costs will be an additional £15 for each journey. After dropping off the final load for the charity's collection centres, trucks are to return for the festival site. So the next thing I did was I know that I've got 6,510 sacks to do. Okay, each load can only take 255 sacks. So to work out the number of loads, all I would do next is I would go, I wonder if I can just write in here. There you go. So if I went to number of loads, loads would be 6,510 divided, because you only fit 255 into a lorry, which gave me the answer of, I can't remember, let me just get the calculator up because I had to round it up if I remember correctly. Calculator would be 6,510 divided into 255, which equals 25.52. So it's obviously going to be a full load because you don't take a half load, you don't just leave it. So it would be 26 loads. Okay. I think I put 25, 26. Yeah, 26 loads. Okay. Next, each load, time for loads, takes 2 hours. So it would be 26 times 2 hours, which would give me 52 hours. I can't remember if I rounded up or down when I did this. I'm just looking down my piece of paper. Okay. Hours in a day, so it's 52. Number of days this will take. It's 52 divided into 8, which would equal 6.5. But obviously you can only get paid for a full day, so it's 7 days. Okay, now we're going to work out then is how much per day. Truck hire with workers will be £380 per day. So that's going to be cost per day is going to be, let's have a look at my thing. Did I just see 380? Yeah. 380 times 7, which equals 2,660 pounds. 660. Okay, plus the fuel would be 26 loads. Now this is where I messed up. Because I didn't label it on my first sheet, I was just like whizzing through, like, gotta get this done because loads of other things, childcare and stuff, as well as working. Because I didn't load this up and nice and neat like this, I just took the 52. Because I went, oh, I worked this out before, oh, it's 52, brilliant, because it was 52 hours and 26 loads, which messed up my entire answers. Now, when I looked down the sheet and had a quick look at the mark scheme, when I looked at the end, I went, hang on, that's a few thousand out at the end. And I looked at it and I went, hang on, that's not right. So I did a quick check and went, I'd expect it to be in about this far. I just did a quick bit of mental math. And it was all because I didn't label stuff. If I'd labelled it like this, I would have easily seen, gone, oh, that's my mistake. But the good thing was, even though I looked down the end, even though I got a mistake carried forwards, because they'll give you the marks for mistake carried forwards, I still would have got 5 out of 6, even though I'd made a simple mistake. Because an examiner will say, oh, he's used this instead of this, but he's trying to do it, so you've still got the marks. So anyway, 26 loads times, what do they say, £15 for their fuel. What did I write that down? Equals 390. Check I haven't made any mistakes here. 390. Add those two together and you get 660 plus 390. I'm just checking this. Did I change it on my piece of paper when I made a mistake yesterday? Calculator. 2660 plus 390 equals 3050. So the total of that, so total cost would for trucks would be £3,050. Okay, that's obviously going to be a negative because that's something you're coming out with. So you've got the cost of that and you've got the cost of that. So that's going to be the negatives because it's the price to make the bags, price to hand out and do everything with them. All right, if we have a look back at this, everything else on this bit will be a positive. Make sense? So basically, if I add expenditure would be 32,550 added to 3,050, which gives me let me just do it again, I can't find it on my piece of paper. £30,000, £964.75. So that's the negative. Let me just make that a bit bigger because that's what's coming off. Okay, so that's all the negative. You've then got to work out the positive. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to work out the positive, and you can do the rest on your own. So if I just have a quick look at this. So the negative is, or the positive, sorry. Sleeping bags. So 60% of the sleeping bags. So that would be 60% of the number of bags handed out, which would be 6,510. Times, so that how much is sellable. So 60% of all bags collected back would contain sleeping bags. 65% of that 60% would have stuff that you could sell, and for each one you'll make £5 on that. Okay, so it's basically 0.65 times, and what's it, 0.6 times 0.65 times 6,510, whichever order you're going to do it in, times £5. Okay, and that will give you a number for how much money they're going to make for selling the sleeping bags. Okay, now if you add all those, if you work all those out in a line, boom, 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 all the way along, we'll give you a load of total numbers. If you add that up, that's how much the charity's making in for selling stuff back, which will give you your big positive number. Then at the end, it's simply a negative minus the positive. Sorry, positive minus the negative. That will give you your final answer, and that is how much money you'd be making. Now, if I just have a quick look at the video, just explaining it, we are currently 18 minutes in. Now, that's me doing 18 minutes of explaining the question after I'd already worked it out. Okay, so this is why I'm talking about the exam technique of do this maths question. So when you find the maths question in paper 2, leave it to the end. Do the other ones that you'll be able to do quicker and faster, and then leave this one to the end. Okay, work that one out for me, guys. Finish it off and put the answer in. Check it against the mark scheme, but remember, make sure you label all the bits you're doing, because it's quite complicated once you get all the way down, so you can work out the positive. So I say that, you know, like a great teacher does, always label everything. But I haven't even put in, you know, label my first one here. Let me just fight with this. Why are you being annoying? Right. Are you going to let me, you know, sleeping bag. The other reason for labeling them nice and neatly is that you'll let the examiner know exactly what's going on. Okay, I'd say put them into a table, but you're going to be under time already, so just make sure it's nice and neat. And I think if in the mark scheme you've got a mark for working this bit out, I think you got a mark for working this bit out, you got another mark, this bit you got another mark, and I think positives you got another mark, and then going down using getting the right answer near the end. Okay, hope that makes sense. Sorry it took 18 minutes to work it out.